Welcome to Anime Grid. Today we're counting down the 10 best isekai anime, where the main character is just built different. Let's dive right in. Number 10, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Satou is a tired game developer who gets pulled into another world and immediately one-shots a dragon god and an entire army, and then he shrugs and goes sightseeing. That contrast is the whole show. Satou walks around like a curious tourist, sampling street food, collecting companions, solving small problems, while sitting on a mountain of power he barely bothers to use. The party around him grows into something that feels like a real family, and the world keeps throwing bigger threats at him that he quietly dismantles in seconds. It's cozy, it's warm, and it's completely absurd in the best way. If you want an OPMC who never feels threatening, Satou is your guy. Number 9, the Eminence in Shadow. Sid Kagenou has spent his whole life dreaming of being the ultimate shadow operative, a secret mastermind pulling strings from the darkness. The twist? He actually becomes one. He just doesn't realize it. Everything he sets up as fiction turns out to be real. Every enemy he invents exists. Every plan he makes as a joke works perfectly. And through all of it, Sid remains completely convinced he's just playing a character. The comedy comes from everyone around him treating this delusional teenager as an all-powerful demon-slaying legend, because that's exactly what he is. The action is sharp, the humor is consistent, and the gap between how Sid sees himself and what he actually is never gets old. Number 8, Tsukimichi, moonlit fantasy. Makoto gets summoned to another world and immediately rejected by the goddess who called him there. She finds him too unattractive to deal with and dumps him in the wilderness. That decision turns out to be her biggest mistake. Left on his own, Makoto discovers that his magic capacity is borderline incomprehensible. He builds a settlement in the wasteland, befriends creatures no one else could survive near, and quietly becomes one of the most powerful beings in the world, while the goddess goes on pretending he doesn't exist. The show balances genuine comedy with real action and never forgets that Makoto, despite everything, is just trying to get home. It's warmer than it looks and sharper than people give it credit for. Number 7, the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat. The premise says it all. The world's best assassin dies, gets reincarnated by a goddess, and is handed one mission: kill the hero before the world ends. He approaches it the same way he approached every contract, methodically, patiently, and without wasting a single move. Luke isn't the most powerful person in the room through raw magic. He's OP through discipline, decades of past life knowledge, a genius-level talent for combining skills, and a cold, strategic mind that never stops calculating. The action is clean, the planning is satisfying, and the people around him, his team, his family, stop being window dressing pretty fast. If you like competence as a power fantasy, this one delivers. Number 6, the daily life of the immortal king. Wang Ling is 16 years old and has been accidentally shattering limits since he was a baby. He doesn't want to fight anyone. He doesn't want to be noticed. He just wants to get through school, eat good food, and spend time with his girlfriend. The problem is that his power has no ceiling anyone can find. Wang Ling wears a suppression talisman just to avoid leveling up further, treating world-ending threats as minor inconveniences, while everyone around him slowly figures out they're standing next to something terrifying. It's gentle, funny, and quietly impressive when the action does arrive. Think Psyche K meets Isekai, and you're close. Number 5, Saga of Tanya the Evil. Tanya is a 9-year-old girl on the front lines of a magical war. She is also a reincarnated Japanese salaryman who argued with God and lost, and who now treats every battle as a logic problem to be solved before lunch. The OP factor here isn't just raw power. It's the gap between Tanya's strategic mind and everyone else's. She outthinks generals, outwits enemies, and runs operations that shouldn't work on paper and somehow always do. The military setting is detailed, the humor is ice cold, and the central irony, an atheist forced to live in a world with a very real God who hates her, never stops being interesting. One of the most unique OPMCs in the genre, full stop. Number 4, Misfit of Demon King Academy. Anos voldigoad was the most powerful being in existence 2,000 years ago. He reincarnated into a future that forgot him, enrolled in an academy built in his honor, and found out that history had been rewritten to erase his name. His response was completely calm. He was going to remind everyone who he is. Anos doesn't power up, doesn't train, doesn't struggle. He walks into every situation already at maximum and proceeds to dismantle it. What makes the show work is that ainz isn't arrogant. He's just accurate. He knows exactly what he is, treats everyone around him with surprising warmth, and only drops the hammer when someone genuinely deserves it. The action is bombastic, the logic is wild, and ainz himself is one of the most watchable OP protagonists in recent memory. Number 3. No game, no life. This is one of my favorites anime ever. Sora and Shiro are a pair of shut-in siblings who are undefeated at every game they've ever played. They get summoned to Disboard, a world where every conflict, from personal disputes to wars between nations, is settled through games. For once in their lives, they're exactly where they belong. The OP factor here is pure intelligence. No magic power-ups, no special abilities, just two people who read the room faster than everyone else, find the angle no one noticed, and never lose their nerve when the stakes are highest. The visual style is striking, the game mechanics are genuinely clever, and the sibling dynamic carries real weight. It's a different flavor of overpowered, and one of the most stylish entries the genre has produced. Number 2. Overlord. Momonga is the last player still logged into a dying MMO when the servers are supposed to shut down. They don't. The game world becomes real. Every NPC gains a personality, and Momonga, playing as the max-level undead sorcerer ainz ooal, finds himself ruler of a fortress with no idea how he got there or what the world outside looks like. What separates Overlord from every other OP Isekai is the perspective. You're watching the final boss adjust to a new world. Ainz can end almost any fight he enters, and the show knows it. The tension comes from politics, loyalty, and what he chooses to do with that power, rather than whether he'll win. The world is deep, the side characters are some of the best in the genre, and after 4 seasons, it's still setting the standard. Number 1. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Rimuru starts as the weakest creature in a fantasy world, a slime. He ends up rebuilding civilization. The power progression here is earned in a way that still feels effortless. Every ability absorbed, every alliance formed, every decision made carries weight. Rimuru isn't just strong, he's a leader, a diplomat, and occasionally a disaster, and the show tracks all 3. The city building sections are genuinely satisfying, the battles scale without losing focus, and the cast that surrounds him grows into one of the largest and best developed in Isekai. It balances warmth, strategy, and spectacle better than almost anything else in the genre. And that's it. Which OPMC do you like the most? Drop your pick in the comments. For clean, spoiler-free lists and focused breakdowns all year, subscribe to Anime Grid and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.